Speaking of olden times, Jack Johnson's with us. I don't know why I'm picking on you today, but I am.
It's Friday. I deserve it.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't believe that I have seen you since your barbecue.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for coming, by the way.
What a great success it seemed to be. I mean, I've never been to another one, but that one seemed to be well attended, and everyone seemed to be having a good time.
No, I think everybody did. It's always a lot of fun to put it on. It's the one event of the year that I get to decide the dress code. I get to decide how long the speeches are. I get to do all those things. And so I try to make it a fun event that people enjoy coming to, because we all have to go to a lot of events that sometimes are not quite as fun.
Can be a little bit laborious from time to time. Believe it or not, I've learned over my many years doing this that politicians enjoy listening to themselves talk. So I appreciate the fact that everything was kept in it was pithy, it was succinct, but it was good. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you being there. And Pamela Furr, as always, did an amazing job.
She's really good.
She does a national anthem delivery that is amazing.
It's tip-top. It's tip-top, absolutely. And Pamela, if you're listening, you did a great job. I was unaware until recently that you were on the airport authority. But then you tell me that you're not.
That's my understanding. That's correct. We have some pending litigation
I would think
involved.
You would know.
In that, my assistant we were going over my schedule for next week, and I had airport authority meetings on there. She said, "Are you going to those?" And I said, "I don't think so. I don't know. Let's see what happens in the court." No, what happened is, you're right. Back, your listeners may remember, we passed legislation back during our session earlier this year relative to the Airport Authority Board. And by the way, we did something similar with the Sports Authority Board. So you have these entities like the Airport Authority that it's been around for a long time. We have a massive airport in Nashville. It's growing very rapidly. It's one of the busiest airports in the country. And only 30% of the traffic going through that airport it comes from Nashville. 70% comes from outside of Nashville, either elsewhere in Tennessee or even other states. And yet the sole appointing authority for that board was the mayor of Nashville. And so we've been talking about it and Metro Nashville gives them no money. The state of Tennessee has given them tens and tens of millions of dollars to help with their expansion and different things because they're growing so fast. So we said, we think we ought to have some appointing authority other than the mayor. So we passed a bill that says the mayor can appoint 2 members of the board, the governor can appoint 2, and then each of the speakers, Speaker of the House, Speaker of the Senate, can appoint 2. And I was fully supportive of that legislation. Had no idea the lieutenant governor would ask me to be one of his appointments on the board, but he did, and I was honored to do that. So I joined the board on July 1, but in light of the recent court decision, that is in limbo.
So I guess this begs the question. Let's start here. Was there an issue? Was there a problem that we were attempting to solve with regard to the board?
So there had been some concerns in recent years about the airport and the governance of the airport and the way the board was operating the airport. I will say that the CEO of the airport does an amazing job, wonderful staff that is there. But the General Assembly had been looking at this issue for a while. And again, the question is, when Metro Nashville gives no money to the airport, only 30% of the traffic for the airport comes from the city of the Nashville. Why does Nashville have complete control over who serves on that airport authority? Why don't we have people from Williamson County or Sumner County or other places to help govern that board? And that's what this legislation sought to remedy, but it was challenged by Metro government.
Forgive my ignorance, but Jack, what does the board do?
So it's a board of directors. And so certainly the most important thing any board does is hire the CEO. Mm-hmm. And we have a wonderful CEO at the Nashville Airport. His name's Doug Crulin. He's a good friend. He's been there for a number of years and does an amazing job running that airport. But they have approval over appropriations or money, spending money on projects. And with an airport that is growing as rapidly as the Nashville Airport is, as anyone who's flown through,
of stuff going on.
The new hotel is being built, parking garages, runway improvements, expansions. There's just a lot of activity going on out there.
And so that's the decision-making process.
Yeah,
it has to go to the board. The board has to vote on doing these certain things.
Exactly. And it is a multi-billion-dollar operation.
I mean, so not to belabor it, but is it fair to say that there isn't anything specific that the General Assembly was attempting to identify as something that they felt like needed solving, that the Metro appointed board was not solving? Or was it more broadly, hey, we believe that this should be better representative of the people utilizing the facility.
Yeah, I think if you ask some of the people who are maybe more intimately involved with it, under the old board, they would tell you that there were some issues with regards to how the board was functioning. I don't know that I can speak with any great authority over that. But again, this was a conversation that's been going on for some time. And I was fully supportive of the legislation. I'm very disappointed that it was...
What was the reasoning?
Deemed unconstitutional.
What was the reasoning?
So really three things that the court looked at, or that Metro cited as being things that they felt like were unconstitutional. One is you'll hear the term oftentimes when there's litigation between local governments and the state, or there's legislation, you'll hear the term home rule. And effectively, home rule just says that you can't pass laws that target one individual municipality. I don't think that this legislation did that. It was relative to metropolitan forms of government. And Nashville is a metropolitan form of government. There's also what's referred to as an anti-ripper clause in our state constitution that says the state cannot remove county or local officials from office. So the state can't come in and remove a duly elected, say, sheriff from their office, unless, it rises they've committed some crime or something like that. You can do that, but that's a matter for a local government. And again, so it begs the question, are members who serve on the Metro Airport Authority Board considered to be what the Constitution would deem those local officials? And then the third thing was an equal protection allegation, because the Nashville Airport was the only one that was affected by this legislation. But again, they are unique. It's a metropolitan form of government.
Okay, so this applied to metro form. There's other metro forms of government in the state?
There are two others. That's right. Trousdale and Moore County.
Do they have airports?
I don't believe so. They certainly don't have commercial airports.
So, in a de facto way, this applied only to Nashville.
It did, but we pass laws like that all the time. And I understand the provision that's in the Constitution. I think it's a good thing to have in the Constitution. But yes, we will pass legislation from time to time. I'll give you a good example. We passed legislation that was challenged in the courts and was upheld by the state Supreme Court relative to education savings accounts that only applied to Memphis and Nashville, because we set a criteria there that they had to have if a county, any school district, had a certain number of failing schools, then this education savings account program would go into place. So there we passed legislation that did only affect those two counties, but any other county could be affected by it if they met the same standard.
So let me tilt to this, where the rubber meets the runway, if you will. In your short tenure on the authority, are you comfortable with how the airport continues to function amidst the incredible amount? I mean, I go by there every day, live out in Mount Juliet, so I see it. There's a lot of construction going on. There's a lot of road construction, yes. Runway construction. There's a lot of physical construction on the hotel. You mentioned that. And obviously there are growing pains. And I see the backups. And I asked the question the other day without knowledge that you were on the airport authority. Otherwise I would have called you. It's like, Is everyone in charge comfortable with this, or is someone doing something to try to figure out how to alleviate it in the short term while they build out in the long term?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's made some news. Again, it's a good problem to have for the airport because so many people are utilizing it. It's highly solvent in terms of the revenues that they bring in, and projects are planned for additional runways. And I mean, when you're running an airport, you're looking 10, 20, 30 years out, right? And so relative to the traffic in and out of the airport, that is becoming a problem. Yes, there's short-term solution relative to that exit that comes right off of I-40 if you're heading eastbound towards Mount Juliet or Lebanon to get off there. And as you know, because you drive it every day, there is a massive interchange that is being designed and constructed right now that will help that.
And I was on Donaldson the other day, passing the airport, and I was looking at some of the paving activity that was going on, and it looks like, when all is said and done, you were on the airport authority, so you'll be able to confirm this. It looks like that traffic going that way will be actually traveling on the runway. I mean, it
looks that way.
It actually is. It's that close.
Donaldson Pike is being rerouted and moved closer to the runway. No, we won't have automobiles.
Oh, that will be the overpass? That will actually be Donaldson
Pike? Absolutely. It's going to be rerouted right through that area. If you look at an aerial view of the newly designed interchange that's there, it's quite spectacular.
And this is all designed to get the airport traffic better off the interstate
On and off,
and off Donaldson and into the facility.
And as you might imagine, when you're trying to run an airport and you're running 29 million people a year through that airport. Here's an interesting thing that I learned while I was on the airport. When I first moved to Tennessee 30-something years ago, something like 85% of the traffic in the airport was connecting flights. Only 15% of the people getting on a plane originated from Nashville because we were an American Airlines hub. And then later, American Airlines pulled their hub. Southwest came in. And so the amount of traffic in terms of people that actually are driving to the airport has increased exponentially over the last decade or so. But big plans to get that alleviated, but there are going to be some pains in the process.
Okay, let's circle back to the lawsuit. So Metro Council sues, and they come out victorious with this 3-judge panel. Up to the Attorney General as to what happens next?
That's correct. Yeah, the Attorney General is reviewing the opinion and will be making the appropriate decisions about appealing that decision, and in what manner, whether to ask to have an injunction placed on the vacating the existing board. Because
the previous board stopped meeting, right?
That's correct.
And you guys, what do you meet, once a month?
We do. We have committee meetings on one day and then full board meeting on another day.
And so now, as it stands, the old board is back into place?
That's, yes. The opinion specifically vacates the new board that effectively took effect on July 1 and reinstates the previous board. So it's a bit of a mess.
So what about this alleviates the amount of people that I see walking down the interstate with their... Have you seen this?
Yeah, I saw news reports of it as well. During peak times, that traffic will back up.
Is that because of the cell phone lot?
That's part of it. They had a temporary cell phone lot that was somewhat farther off site.
Right.
I think plans were in place by the staff to allow utilization of some of the existing parking in lieu of a cell phone lot. So all those kind of things are being discussed now. But what your listeners need to know as well, remember, there are effectively 3 ways to get into the airport. You can come from Murfreesboro Road on Donaldson Pike and come in that way. You can just take Donaldson Pike from 40. So sometimes that traffic being backed up on that one exit, you could just go right up to the next exit and take Donaldson Pike to the right and go down. Now, sometimes that gets backed up as well, but there are 3 entry points that you can utilize.
See, I didn't think about this, but you're right. If you're heading eastbound on 40, you can take I call it the B&A exit.
The dedicated exit.
The dedicated exit. But then if you just skip that and go right to Donaldson, you can still take a right on Donaldson and go to the airport that way.
Right. And by the way, if you are valet parking, if you're utilizing the valet, you need to do that because you can't, from the I-40, the dedicated exit, you can't cut across the however many lanes of traffic to get into
You see what having a former member, I should say, of the airport authority, former briefed T-Tiny 2 meeting members of the airport authority can do for the edification of the show. Can you stick around for some other
absolutely
unrelated issues? 220 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Senator Jack Johnson's with us. I'm going to ask him about the anticipation of the regular session coming up in January and whether or not he's begun to consider bills and filings and priorities. We'll do that next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Our portion of the broadcast day lasts until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We've got about 5 more minutes with Jack Johnson. My sound sounds weird in here, Belle. I don't know why. Do I sound odd in there? Do I sound okay in there?
Consistently.
Well, thank you.
No, actually, I don't see anything different, and it doesn't sound weird to me.
And it sounds very odd to me. I don't know. And I saw Johnson over there wiggling his thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that wiggle indicates to me that the sound over there sounds as odd as it sounds over here. So there's 2 guys in here saying that. Shut up, Mac Morey. I see you in there. Does Todd have a question for Mr. Johnson? Is that right?
I think he had a response about the backup.
As to why it's backing up?
Yeah.
Should I take this response?
Sure.
I mean, you're the phone screener in there. Okay. Hey, Todd, how are you? You're on with Jack Johnson and Matt Murphy.
Hey, guys, you should definitely take this. So I drive Uber, and I'm going to the airport all day, every day. And I think that the problem is that you're going 55, or 70 coming off the interstate, and then they have a sign in the construction that says 25. Right away. And I think people that don't know they get scared and they slam on their brakes, and then everybody has to slam on their brakes. So if they tapered it down, I think it would help on the short term. So that's my 2 cents.
This is on I-40?
Yeah, coming into the airport, you can go down, to the next exit, but it's so much quicker and more convenient. And it's usually just people getting timid and scared because they see all the signs and the construction. There's nothing in the way ever.
Yeah, you're Ubering, right? You're an Uber?
I'm Uber.
Yeah, but you know what, Todd, you'd know better than me, but I mean, I've seen it. It's more than that. There are backups where the traffic is stopped on the interstate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because
and that's what I'm talking about.
And everybody has to stop.
Well, and apparently there are a lot, and thank you, Todd, for the call. There are a lot of people that are taking others to the airport, and the concern is, and I've seen it with my own eyes, and I saw the report that you're referring to, Jack, is that when you get to the point where people are on the off ramp and they're thinking, oh, well, a preferable way to get this done and handled so I can get to my flight is to go ahead and get out of the car on the off ramp. I'm not saying they're doing it on the interstate, but they are on the off ramp. I've seen it. And grab their bags and just walk it up. Well, kudos to them for being willing to do that, but that's a little dangerous.
It is, and again, the airport staff can tell you, even with those backups, they have ways to monitor how long it's taking to get up to the terminal. And it came up in some of our discussions and board and committee meetings there, and the point was made by a staffer saying that if the car had stayed there, the car would have gotten there faster than the person.
Right. Don't get out. In other words, don't get out of your car. Don't get out of your car. Believe it or not, it's November 3rd. I mean, that's not the part that's unbelievable. The part that's unbelievable, you're going to be in regular session in a couple of months.
Yeah, about 2 months. That's right.
It doesn't feel like you ever got out of session.
It's been an interesting year. It really has. It's been a busy one with the special session and all that, but it's good. I'm excited. I always look forward to the beginning of session.
Well, what's on your radar screen? Anything?
So, I wear two hats, as you know, because I serve as majority leader, and I'm also a state senator from Williamson County. And so part of my responsibility as majority leader is working with the governor's office and the administration on legislative initiatives that they have. We'll be meeting with them in the coming days, I think actually next week, to kind of go through what the governor has in terms of legislative initiatives. I don't want to get ahead of him, but that will start to crystallize. Obviously, budget hearings are taking place, getting ready for the governor to present his budget. So my process is to kind of make sure I'm good with that and kind of know what I'm going to be dealing with the governor, because that's my responsibility.
And for those that don't know, part of your responsibility is, I guess if you had particular objection with a piece of legislation, you would not carry it. But typically, on the Senate side of things, if the governor has bills that you guys are simpatico with, you carry that legislation.
Exactly. And thank you for saying that. I mean, there was a pretty high profile bill back late in this past session that the governor wanted introduced, and I would not introduce it. So yes, I don't automatically rubber stamp anything the governor wants to do. It's my job to work with he and his staff when there are concerns and issues and try to get those addressed. And then certainly the things, as you said, that we're in agreement on, then we get those filed and introduced.
Well, we're very excited about having politicians back in it. Hold on to your wallets, everybody. The politicians are back in town.
In Tennessee, we're the lowest tax state in the nation. So
I know. We should count our blessings in a lot of ways. Are you, I don't want to speak out of school. I don't want to mischaracterize things that were said at your Barbecue and Boots event. But I think I remember, based on certain comments that were made there by you, that you're pleased with the outcome of the elections in Franklin.
Oh, overwhelmingly. Yes, absolutely. Very pleased.
You're a fan of Ken Moore.
I'm a fan of Dr. Ken Moore. We've been friends Mayor Moore. We've been friends for a long time. I think he's been a great mayor. I haven't agreed with every decision he's going to make, but Matt, we have to get out of this world where if you don't agree with me 100 out of 100 times,
Amen,
then you're a rhino, you're a moderate, you're a swamp
Wolf
creature,
in sheep's
whatever.
Clothing, right?
We have to get out of that. Reagan said, if you're with me 80% of the time, you're my ally. But we're living in a world now where there are social media trolls out there that they will come after you over 1 out of 1,000 things that they disagree with.
I'm not here to beat a dead horse, but I will say that most of what I heard coming out of Franklin regarding that race is there were certain candidates in the race that were speaking of Franklin as if Franklin was some hellscape. I mean, that was just on the verge of complete and total collapse. And while I understand why good people might have some disagreements about the direction of this or that, or, the building of a, whatever it might be, individual issue oriented disagreements. I've been to Franklin.
It's a wonderful place.
It's a wonderful city.
I live there, and I'm proud to have my family there. And I will tell you, it is one of the best run, best managed cities in America. And so you don't come in, especially, we had one alderman candidate that had moved here 11 months ago from California. So you move here, you're here 11 months, and because you move here because you love it, and the first thing you want to do is fire all the people that made it the wonderful community it is. I don't understand that, but yes, I was very, very happy, not only with the mayor's race, but all 4 of the alderman seats. Wonderful people that got elected, and as a Franklin resident, I'm very pleased with the election outcome.